all you vinyl varmints, all you record collecting crew, have I got a box of records for you. Hi, Shadow Man.
Hey, Daddy.
It is a Friday, and we're here for another edition of the Box of Records. I'm Addict Daddy. We took last Sunday off because it was Father's Day. Shadow Man's a father, and
we had a
my name's Addict Daddy at least. So
yeah, we had a big fun weekend, Saturday and Sunday.
excellent, excellent.
Never fails, huh? We're gonna ignore that.
Okay, yes.
It's just somebody.
I think it's one of the fans. You know, they're always
I'm sure how
their
they do.
home address so they can come
Long
over here.
distance, anyway.
Anyways, today's subject is called Orphans of Britain. Now, this is show number 22, episode 22. Episode 21, if you remember, our last show was Orphans of America, where we featured a lot of really interesting bands, and, well, it's all my opinion, I guess, that I wouldn't say didn't rate a whole show, but I didn't personally own enough to do a whole show. And this is a similar situation with some rock and roll bands from Britain this week. All right. We're going to start off with the Groundhogs. All right. This is Hogwash, the Groundhogs. Now, they were a blues band from Britain, gritty, grubby, kind of dirty t-shirt presentation, and good bluesy stuff. Now, locally around here in St. Catharines, Humble Pie played like in the early 70s. And these guys opened up for them on that tour. So a lot of people might have actually get to see Tony McPhee and Groundhogs. Now, he was the leader, guitar player, singer that had all the different incarnations of the Groundhogs. And last year, I had a real groundhog in my garden. And you know what I named him? Tony.
No.
Yeah. Probably Anthony, because he was British. But, yeah. This is pretty cool. And the drummer, whose name is Clive Brooks, that sounded familiar to me, and I just looked it up, and it said he was in a band called Egg. That was some kind of prog thing.
Pardon me.
All right, the Pink Fairies. What a bunch of sweeties, as this album is called. Great cover with all buttons and everything. And look at this, like what they were, you know, whole comic inside, which is mostly about ingesting drugs and the benefits. And
How about that?
and so there's a band, the Pink Fairies. I mean, how many of these did they sell? But yet they get gatefold and everything. It always amazes me. But this band started with Mick Farron, who is also a rock and roll author of some note, and he had a band called the Deviants later on. And Steve Took from Tyrannosaurus Rex, the original conga player there. And a guy named Twink, who was in the Pretty Things. So this was all an assemblage of guys that, and they toured a lot with Hawkwind. They were kind of in that whole circle of the Hawkwind, LSD kind of craziness. And in fact, Larry Wallace, who was in this band for a while, later on had stuff on his own on Stiff Records, Police Car. Larry Wallace joined up with the first Motorhead after Lemmy got kicked out of Hawkwind. So it's all kind of a little circular bunch of desperados, and this is another one too. This is a British import, and it's, you know, it's like a best of album. You know, if you could say there was a best of a Pink Fairies album, this is it. Interesting band called Family. Quite big, in Britain. Now the singer Roger Chapman had a real rusty drainpipe of a voice. And they were like a hard rock band, but with keyboards and everything. But just couldn't go over in the States. Had a pretty dismal Fillmore performance, and Bill Graham didn't like them and everything. But these are all like North American releases. So they were trying. You can get one of these that folds out like 5x2, where all these different heads on the front have their own sections and everything. But I unfortunately don't have that. But they must have thought enough of this band. I always love this.
Oh,
Isn't that cool?
that's nice.
It's all die cut, the liner and everything. Bandstand, you get the speaker inside.
Very nice.
Yeah. family. Now, the first family album that I don't have here featured a guy named Rick Gretsch, who we've talked about before. Went on to Blind Faith later on. Plays the violin in Factory Girl for the Rolling Stones. And I think this was their last album, Family. It's only a movie. Now by this point they had picked up Tony Ashton on keyboards, and he was in Ashton, Gardner and Dyke that did Resurrection Shuffle. Do you remember that song? Resurrection
Can't
Shuffle?
say I do. If I heard it, I might recognize
Yeah, you probably recognize it.
And I'm wagering you know who that is on the cover.
I think it's William S. Hart, the cowboy
Yes.
silent movie star.
Amazing.
Was that what you're going to say?
I like the. I know I'm never going to trip you up. I just a little extra information.
Okay. Roger Chapman and Charlie Whitney, the guitar player and singer for Family, later on went to the Streetwalkers. That was their new band. They had a song called Run for Cover that got quite a bit of airplay for a while. But what a singer. I think some people, that would be why they don't like them, because of the extreme rawness of his voice.
And it kind of grates on you.
I always liked them, you know, but I can't say I'm popping out the Family albums to listen to them all the time.
I can't say I'm a big fan of. I can't remember her name now. Pearl, what's her name? Janis Joplin.
Janis Joplin.
That just grates on me too. It's some people do. You know, whatever.
The second band she had, they played too long. It wasn't like Big Brother and the Holding Company. That was a great band.
It's down
Or
there.
Orphans. By the way, I'm going to take a drink of it. This is grog from the orphanage.
And while you're having a cocktail,
Just finish my mush.
Rick, this replaces $1 paper bill. It doesn't show up very good at all, does it?
This is the
That's a
$1 coin.
That's a $1 coin. We don't have a $1 bill. This represents a $2 bill, which has gone extinct up here in Canada. And but a ruple's worth 2 Canadian cents, and we're still waiting.
Steve Harley and Cockney Rebel. They were kind of, I guess, use these terms, but in the glam thing. He was a writer that got his own band later on. Very kind of dandy, maybe Kinksy-ish thing, but they had an electric violin, and the Psychomoto was their song that
Who did all the way to
FM play. Pardon?
who did all the way to Memphis? Is that those
That was
guys?
Mott the Hoople.
Mott the Hoople, sorry.
And this was another Steve Harley album that they brought out with a die cut. Look, you see, you thought this guy, you know.
Wow.
And this is kind of a best of, not best of, but sometimes a couple of albums would be put out in England and they'd condense them for North American, a different release. Oh, my man, Chris Spedding.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
this is the one here. It's got Guitar Jamboree on it and motorbiking. But, of course, Shadow Man and I had the great pleasure of seeing him with
Yeah.
Brian Ferry, his first solo tour, I think 77. And I've seen him many times with Robert Gordon. And
That's
a
a
wonderful
great-
guitar player. And you know, this guy was on Eno albums and John Cale and all this real, more avant-garde stuff. But when you hear him play with Robert Gordon,
Is
it's
that
like,
gatefold, Kevin?
no, it's not a gatefold. It is British. It's got the British sheen on it. Right, even through the orphanage, which is young men spend their time in. This is another one. This is another Chris Spedding album. All right, take this out of the plastic. This is a lovely British album too. Andy McKay. Now, Andy McKay was the saxophone player for Roxy Music, of course, but this is his solo album he put out. And, yeah, see, I get it, a rocket and a horn, yeah. But a lot of the usual suspects are on this, Eno and Phil Manzanera, and the drummer Paul Thompson, and some of the guys from King Crimson, and all the people who knew each other. Dr. Feelgood. Great British rock and blues band from Canvey Island, right down to the south of England, who had a scene down there. Their guitar player, Wilco Johnson, just amazingly noisy guitar player. And there's Lee Brillo, their singer, and they put out a bunch of albums. This stuff's like 76 and everything. This is kind of really pretty punky stuff. When I I know this was
Oh, I
big
bet
at
that hurt.
CBGB's in the early days. Pardon, my man?
No, I'm just saying that tattoo looked like it really hurt. If that's what it was.
The only ones. Now, they did a song called Another Girl, Another Planet. I think I'm on another planet with you, which most people would probably know. The singer Peter Parrott, we were going to go see him last year up in Toronto, but then when all the virus whole thing happened, everything got canceled. But yeah, very, very cool band. They put out a few albums, and Peter Parrott's still putting out stuff. Baby's Got a Gun.
Oh,
That's another one of their albums. And Peter Parrott, he's on Johnny Thunder's albums. He's on So Alone. Really, really interesting classic kind of British. Great voice, great haircut, you know, the whole thing. All right. Now, when I bought my first Circus magazine in 1969, if you subscribe to Circus for $6 a year, you get a choice of albums. And I always remember, this is Bloodwind Pig, A Head Rings Out. Now, with the, I'll have to show the back cover.
Oh,
of the
my.
pig's tail. Anyway, this was what the original guitar player for Jethro Tull, Mick Abrams. This was his band. And look, what comes with the big fold up. They had a horn player that played with more than one horn in his mouth at a time, kind of like Roland Kirk. But yeah. My mechanic saw Bloodwind Pig. Anyway, that is today's Orphans of Britain, and I hope you enjoy myself. So we're going to have a bowl of mush.
Well, cheers to everybody out there. Everybody survived Father's Day. Kevin's got a special announcement.
No, we were just watching a really neat thing on YouTube called History of Punk, The Sound of Rebellion. And it is absolutely excellent if you're into punk rock, and a lot of great clips in it, and a lot of interviews.
Make sure the kids are out of the room. It's
Oh,
first
yeah.
language.
Oh yeah, it's like having Uncle Albert over.
Yeah,
It's
Yes. You made some mighty fine wine, I must say. All right. You've had your tea.
Had your tea. Thank you much, everybody.
Oh, and in case you didn't notice, Teddy's gone. We don't have a name for this mascot. We're not even trying hard. Sorry, Kevin. Teddy's been inherited by one of my granddaughters. It used to be my daughter Erin's teddy bear. So it's gone on to a better home, Erin.
Okay.
There you go. Now we can get the hell out of here.
Teddy.